This video will show you how to replace the rear engine mount on a Toyota Matrix. This will be located along the back side of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The location of the mount is along the back side of the engine, deep down inside the engine compartment. To gain access to the lower hardware, first, we're going to safely make our way under the front of the vehicle. Now we're under the front of the vehicle. We can see our transmission pan. As we make our way rearward to our subframe, we can see our hardware. There's lots of hardware under here. We're really only focusing on this, and if you were to look inside of either of these two holes, you're going to find another 14mm nut in each. So we're using a 14mm for each piece of hardware. There's one piece of hardware. Our mounting bolt did break. That's okay, I'm just going to replace this. Let's continue on to all other hardware. Now, while we're still under here, the next thing I want to do is talk about where we're going to apply upward pressure using a jack. If you were looking at your transmission, once again, you can see your transmission pan, and then we can see this portion of the transmission here. Use a small block of wood. We'll continue on with the jack, applying light pressure here. After that, we need to be inside of that engine compartment again. Now, I have pressure underneath my transmission, so I'm up inside the engine compartment. I'm using a 17mm swivel head socket for my through bolt. During the removal of this through bolt, you may find you have to either raise or lower the height of the transmission as needed. There's our bolt. Now that I have that bolt out of there, let's continue on to safely raising our transmission just enough that we can start removing that rearward mount. Now you're going to find you have a hard time getting the mount out from around the bracket that's attached to our transmission. To help avoid removing this bracket from the transmission, alter the height of the transmission as necessary so we can work this out of position. Use a small pry bar if necessary. There it is, friend. Prior to installation of any brand new part, clean and inspect the mounting areas. I'm going to start with the bracket off of the transmission and then move down towards my subframe. For this, I'm just going to use a wire brush and a clean rag as necessary. We want to make sure nothing's rotted, weak, or damaged in any way. Now it's time to install our brand new rear engine mount. Now for this, we do have a rubber insulator, but we're going to be installing this once it's down on the subframe. I want to show you what it looks like. Looking at the mount itself, you can see that we have a circular port, but we also have an alignment tab. On that rubber insulator, same thing here, circular port and a slot for the alignment tab. You'd want to put it just like this when it's in the vehicle. This is going to go on the side that's closest to your exhaust. Now, since we don't want this to fall off while we continue on, let's continue with that mount. Once it's in position, we'll install that insulator. We're being extremely careful for any hoses or cables as we make our way down this area. Now you may find you have to lightly tap this underneath the bracket. We'll adjust the height of the transmission as necessary so we can get this in position. Now that I have that underneath the bracket, I'm just going to continue on to aligning my lower studs with their corresponding holes. This should want to set right down into position. Now that I have the studs down inside the subframe, we're going to make adjustments as necessary to the height of the transmission using our jack. But we also need to make sure we install our insulator. That's going to go on the exhaust side. Now I can see where my alignment tab is. We want to have the flat side facing towards the exhaust. You don't want to have this backwards. Sometimes you just have to lift it back up and out of position. That's okay. Go ahead and snug that up. The torque for it will be 48 foot-pounds if you can get a torque wrench in this area. Now, since there's minimal room in this area for my torque wrench, I'm just going to make sure this is nice and snug. Just double check that insulator. That looks good. Okay, that's nice and tight. Now we can remove support from under our transmission and we'll make our way safely under the front of the vehicle. Now from under the vehicle, let's start with our mounting bolt. I'm going to come directly up through its port. We'll go ahead and start it in by hand here. Now we have 3 studs. One of them's out in the open, we can easily see, and the other 2 are inside of these 2 ports, as you know. Continue on with your 14mm nuts for each of those. Once they're all started in, go ahead and snug them up and then torque them to 38 foot-pounds. Now that we've torqued everything down underneath this area, just one last quick inspection before we make our way out from under the vehicle. Okay friend, we finished the installation of our rear engine mount. Now the next thing you have to do is go ahead and start the vehicle. You're going to run it through each one of the gears and confirm you don't hear any odd noises or vibrations coming from inside of the engine compartment. Aside from that, take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.